Let us now settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet to be followed by our prelude. You're invited at this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow.
This morning's chalice lighting is from Emma Lazarus. Kindle the taper like the steadfast star, ablaze on evening's forehead o'er the earth, and add each night a luster till afar, an eightfold splendor shine above thy hearth. Clash, Israel, the cymbals, touch the lyre, blow the brass trumpet and harsh-tongued horn, chant psalms of victory till the heart take fire. The Maccabean spirit, leap newborn.
Just another day, the sun breaks through, shadows creeping where we used to bloom. I'm packing up memories, they're slipping away, but here come the friends, lighting my way. Once it was laughter, now echoes of pain, a home full of promise, now nothing but rain. You left so abruptly, took all that we built, but in the wreckage I'm learning to heal. The dogs bark in silence, but they still feel the love. With every wagging tail, I thank the stars above. So I'll rise through the rubble, I'll dance in the dark, with friends all around. They've ignited a spark, from heartache to hope, I'm finding my way. With every step forward, I'm ready to stay. I'll cherish the moments of laughter we shared, but you can't take the love that my friends have declared. They've listened to stories, held back my tears, and showed me the sunshine despite all my fears. So I face the horizon, I won't look behind. The wind at my back, it's the future I'll find. So I'll rise through the rubble, I'll dance in the dark with friends all around. They've ignited a spark from heartache to hope. I'm finding my way with every step forward. I'm ready to stay. Life on the ashes of trust, with colors of laughter as vibrant as dust. No more looking back, only chasing the light. Together with my friends, we'll make it alright. So here's to the future, with open hearts wide, with love in abundance. I'll stand with my pride, no longer alone, just me and my pack. Together we'll conquer, there's no looking back.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Andrew Wilkin. I am one of your worship associates this morning. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people, who thrive and remain active as the Nipmuc tribe. If you would like to learn more about the Nipmuc community, please see the brochure in our foyer. We offer a special welcome to those who are new or visiting with us for the first time this morning. We are delighted that you are here. We hope that you will join us in the fellowship hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries or programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of the ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you joining us online this morning, we offer you a very special welcome for safety purposes and so we might come to know you better. As you are able, please place your name on your video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now being circulated. Though you are not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information. We'll use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by the minister, please print it on an index card in the pew and drop it in the collection plate when it comes around. These cards will also be posted outside the minister's office to be shared with our friends at other services. For those online, you can place a joy or sorrow in the chat, and we'll share it during this time in the service. In the foyer, there are listening devices, large print service programs, and hymnals for those who might find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of our ushers who will be pleased to assist you. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode. Finally, please note the announcements at the back of your program. There will be a time for short verbal announcements following the postlude. We are glad that you are here and hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest reflection, and rejuvenation.
For those of you who are wondering, the potential sparseness this morning here, there are about 20 people online, and we can pretty much bet that some of them spent the night salsa dancing and have awakened this morning to snow and realized that their hips are not as young as they used to be. So they are joining us from the comfort of their homes, probably with a little acetaminophen on board and some coffee. We are glad that they're here, and for those who actually were there last night, who have joined us in person this morning, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you. We come to that time in our service when we invite our basket bearers to come forward. These are participants in our religious exploration program who, during our Sunday morning worship, collect change in order to contribute to our ongoing emergency fund. So if you have change this morning that you would like to contribute, if you'd raise your hand, and one of our basket bearers will be certain to find you quickly. This is a little foreshadowing. I'm going to be employing these folks for our stewardship drive in the spring, just so you understand that, And I can take that. Thank you. If you're done, you can bring your baskets to me. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of, you can do it up there. Yeah. Where, everywhere you may go.
The opening words are from the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. Through the dancing flames of our Hanukkah, we summon light into the darkness, just as our ancestor Adam did. After experiencing the darkness of night for the first time, Adam, filled with fear and dread, took 2 stones. One marked darkness and one marked death, and rubbed them together to produce a spark, and from the spark a flame. Light was born of darkness, and hope was born of despair. So it is for us now. At this darkest season of the year, we find ourselves in a dark moment in our history. Like Adam, we find ourselves in the midst of despair. For the 4 million refugees who have fled violence and oppression in Syria, and an additional 7 million Syrian citizens currently displaced within their country's borders. For the Central American children who have fled home, often without their parents because of the endless bloodshed in their native lands. For the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians who have fled civil war and persecution and are now homeless in their homeland. This Hanukkah, as we place our Hanukkah in the window to remind the world of the miracle of Hanukkah, let us also share our prayer that all who wish to live in safety and in freedom may do so free from harm and fear of persecution. As the candles burn brightly for all to see, may we also be inspired, as Adam was, to transform darkness and to light. Together, may we work to create a world in which everyone finds shelter and peace.
Would you please join together in our opening hymn found in your gray hymnals, hymn number 223, Rock of Ages, Let Our Song. Please rise also in body or in spirit. I call on David Showalter if he can make his way forward after the magnificent dancing last night.
The ibuprofen before sleeping helped, I'm sure. Vitamin I call it. Good morning. UUCW's 8th Principal Task Force aims to educate and inspire our community to incorporate anti-racist and anti-oppressive commitments as part of our faith. The 8th Principal Moment is a monthly opportunity to think more deeply about how racism and oppression manifest in our everyday lives and continue to hold such issues at the forefront of our hearts and minds. Today, I want to share a bit about a recent article from NPR called "The Price America Paid for the First Big Immigration Crackdown." It caught my attention because it shows how a chapter in American history, when Chinese immigrants were driven out, still speaks to us today. In the mid-1800s, Chinese immigrants played a massive role in building the United States, especially out west. They helped build the Transcontinental Railroad. They worked mining, timber, and many other trades, doing the hard, often dangerous, and thankless labor that helped the country grow. But when much of the railroad and development work was done, things started to shift. Economic stagnation and fear of job competition fed racial resentment, especially among white workers and politicians. That fear and resentment didn't emerge out of nowhere. It was stoked, nurtured, and turned into political action. In 1882, Congress passed what became known as the Chinese Exclusion Act, the first major law in U.S. history to ban immigration from a specific nationality. The law didn't just halt new immigration of Chinese laborers, it also barred Chinese people already in the country from becoming citizens and codified their second-class status. The crackdown wasn't simply a matter of controlling immigration, it destroyed lives. Entire families were torn apart, communities that had started to build roots were torn down, and the cost wasn't only felt by the Chinese immigrants. New research shows that the economy of many Western towns and regions suffered. Factories slowed down, services and businesses shut, and even white workers left because there suddenly was too little economic vitality to keep people around. In short, the exclusion laws damaged almost everyone. What's perhaps most striking is that this happened even though Chinese immigrants had contributed enormously to building our country. Their labor was critical to major infrastructure and industries, but once their work was done, once the railroad was built, once the easy gains had been made, they were erased. So what does this teach us now, especially in our UUCW community working for justice? Exclusion, even when justified as protecting jobs, protecting culture, or protecting economic interests, often disguises racism and scapegoating. People who built, contributed, and belonged can be targeted when public sentiment shifts, especially in hard times. And the concept of a zero-sum game is a myth. For us here today, remembering this history isn't about guilt or shame, it's about acknowledging the real human costs of systemic racism and exclusion. It's about honoring those whose lives were disrupted and those whose contributions were erased. And it's about learning to resist an us versus them thinking, because scapegoating others undermines our shared humanity, hurts not just those targeted, but entire communities. Thank you.
For those of you who would like to know more about what David is talking about, I cannot express more enthusiasm for a book than the book Undocumented, How Immigration Became Illegal in this country. It is worth the read to understand that this is not a straightforward history, and that what David described is actually just one episode in a series of episodes where we invited people into the country. They gave us their lifeblood, their most creative energies, their wealth, their time, and we turned around and treated them as though they were foreign invaders after they contributed so much. It's worth the read, so I'll leave it at that. The words of Rainer Maria Rilke. You, God, who live next door, if at times through the long night I trouble you with my urgent knocking, this is why. I hear you breathe seldom. I know that you're all alone in that room. If you should be thirsty and there's no one to get you a glass of water, I wait, listening, always. Just give me a sign. I'm right here. As it happens, the wall between us is very thin. Why couldn't a cry from one of us break it down? It would crumble easily. It would barely make a sound. I found this favorite poet's words at the beginning of an article on the story of Hanukkah by David Hoffman from the Jewish Theological Seminary, published about 8 years ago. He notes in his article that Rilke's words express the need and the pathos of the soul who seeks God, yet the desire of the narrator to experience intimacy with God is never fulfilled. The pain and the frustration generated by the poem is heightened by the awareness that God lives literally next door. so close yet remaining hidden and alone. The poet's words powerfully capturing the raw emotions and frustrations that are so often felt in the spiritual life of those people who call themselves religious. When I heard this, though, I thought immediately of my friend and colleague, now of blessed memory, Forrest Church, who once described God saying, "God is not God's name. God is our name for that which is greater than all and yet present in each." I like that definition. With this in mind, I return to Rilke's words with a deeper appreciation for the yearning captured by her words of each of us to relate deeply to the most authentic part of ourselves and the universe itself. Scientists are wont to remind us that we are, at our most fundamental level, made of the same elements of all creation. We are stardust, animated. We are the universe alive to itself. A yearning is expressed in poetic measure for authentic intimacy and comfort with that out of which we each have come and to that which all of us will in end return. And I think it is this yearning, by whatever words one uses, that often compels us into our relationships with other people, our relationships into community, our relationships with nature, our relationships with the numinous. But what, I hear you ask, does any of this have to do with Hanukkah? Hear me out. Most of us know the story of Hanukkah in some version, yes? Mm-hmm. In short, Hanukkah is that 8-day Jewish festival, and it was considered a minor festival until just a few years ago when the United States actually brought it back to the fore in the 20th century. It's the festival that commemorates the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem in 164 before the Common Era, after the Maccabean revolt against the Seleucid Empire, which was a response in the 2nd century of the before the Common Era to Seleucid King Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who tried to impose Hellenistic culture on the Jews and desecrated the temple by dedicating it to Zeus. The story is told of a Jewish priest named Mattathias and his son Judah Maccabee, who led a revolt against this oppression and, victorious in their efforts, restored Jewish religious freedom and reclaimed the temple, whereupon on the 25th of Kislev, the Hebrew calendar, the temple was purified and rededicated by lighting a menorah, marking the beginning of Hanukkah, as we have come to know it. The miracle of the story is that there wasn't enough consecrated oil to last a day, but in fact it lasted 8 days, and thus the 8-day festival that we now know as Hanukkah was born. That's the short version. But within its telling are nuances that are hidden unless you know more of the history of how Hanukkah came into being. Nuances which not only complicate our comprehension of this episode in Jewish history, but also might, to make a point today, shine light on the significance of the story for many now. First, let's consider the oil discovered amidst the rubble of the temple. So while the story tells of only one canister of consecrated oil was available for the ritual lighting of the candelabra in the temple, it turns out that ritual oil was not necessary for the lighting. How's that? As David Hoffman notes, the true nature of the miracle of Hanukkah, according to Pnei Yeshua, and here he's referring to Rabbi Jacob Joshua Falk, who was a 17th and mid-18th century rabbi of Polish and German descent and a Talmudist, who wrote in his great work, is not that the vial of ritually pure oil miraculously lasted 8 days. Indeed, even if they had not found this container of pure olive oil, the menorah in the temple could have been kept lit. For according to Rabbi Falk, ritually unfit containers of oil could have been used for lighting the menorah after the temple was rededicated, because there's an interesting law in Judaism that permits the use of things rendered impure, provided that they are used for communal needs. I want you to think about that. That purity is overshadowed by communal needs. It's a very interesting law. So in truth, there wasn't a need for the miracle of the oil, where 1 day's worth of pure oil lasted 8 days. Given this understanding, Rabbi Falk asks us to reconsider the way that we tell the story of Hanukkah, and consequently also reconsider its religious meaning. The question of meaning here, remember, from my standpoint, this is the essence of spirituality. For those of you who say, I'm not spiritual, I go hogwash. Everyone is spiritual because every one of us is in search of meaning in some fashion. Some of us find it in science. Some of us find it in mathematics. Some of us find it in the writing of the mystics. Some of us find it in meditation. Some of us find it in sacred scripture. We're all in search of meaning. We all have our pathways to meaning. Therefore, I'm telling you, y'all are spiritual, whether you want to be or not. Okay? So, let's get back to the story here. The question of meaning, the spiritual nature of the story, according to Hoffman, was not that God provided oil that we could not have had otherwise. Rather, he writes, God kept a small quantity of oil miraculously aflame for 8 days in order to communicate to the Jewish people that God was present in their community. The miracle of the oil was that God gave the Jewish community, the very people who had suffered so greatly in their war against the Greeks, a clear sign that they had not been abandoned. Now, I'm not asking you for a theological conversion here, for those of you who are going to come at me after the service and go, what are you talking about God for? Okay? I'm asking you to consider the way in which we as communities address the reality that people are still looking for signs that they have not been abandoned. Remember David's words? So many people who have come into our country, so many people in our country now that are facing hardships that none of us have to face. And they want to know they haven't been abandoned. What are they looking for? That people who have been subjugated and traumatized by war and the desecration of the ritual center of their communal religious life, right, would look for signs that there was life and blessings and possibilities beyond the hardships that they had endured, makes the Hanukkah story a human story, and no less valuable today than when it was first rendered. Recently, a spat of research has suggested that we're in an era of spiritual renewal as a country, which comes as good news for ministers who have been studying for the last few decades that the church is dying or already dead. And the truth is that there is still a great deal of decline in the participation in religious institutions, but that does not translate to people not yearning for spiritual depth. The question is how to align who we are in religious community to that yearning for meaning, for purpose, for a sense that they're not alone in a world that seems to continue to want to marginalize the most vulnerable. Would appear in the moment that there is a clamor for meaning in the midst of the trials and tribulations of our ongoing political discord, our economic uncertainty, and threats to the liberties and freedoms of so many of us who cherish and have worked to attain these freedoms over the decades. I think about the generations of women that are now dealing with the return or the reversal of Roe v. Wade, and all of the effort that it took to get here in 1970. I think about all of the people who spent their lifeblood, generations, gaining the right to vote, who are seeing their efforts turned on its head. I see all of the efforts of those who unionized, who worked for those who were new arrivals in our country to find not just place, but home. Wondering what now? The Public Religion Research Institute reports that approximately 65 to 66% of Americans identified as Christian in 2023-2024, and at the same time, the institution emphasizes high levels of religious chum, frequent disaffiliation, switching between traditions, and the redefinition of what one believes. Our work highlights the influence of political polarization, institutional distrust, and generational transition on religious identity, and what that means is we're not our parents. And we never wanted to be, until we woke up that morning like this morning and realized that that moan that we heard our father give every time he got out of bed is coming out of our own mouth, right? We may not want to become our parents, but as we grow, we find we are closer and closer to that vision. The pastoral implication of all of this is that disaffiliation often reflects relational and institutional breakdown rather than outright theological rejection. Trust, credibility, patient shepherding matter deeply in this climate, says PPRI. All this suggests that the church is experiencing the same kind of skepticism that plagues so many of our public institutions, especially the government these days. The trend, I suspect, also is a dynamic of the unholy alliance that so many have witnessed between certain forms of Christian nationalism and the history of courting political power. The research also suggests that people continue to yearn for authentic spiritual, and what I mean, again, is deep meaning, authentic spiritual depth, and they crave communities that reflect the integrity that is so much a part of that deep spiritual understanding, which is where I think we as a congregation come in. And we come in as a wider religious movement. I've said all along that I believe that we experience the decline of many religious communities. As we continue to experience the decline of many religious communities, the communities that survive and indeed thrive are those that are inviting folks into all sorts of backgrounds and beliefs and practices into relationship in order to find a spiritual home, not to create bastions of right belief or right practice, but to reflect an authentic desire for deep communion with each other and the well-being that each of us craves for all. Congregations have movements of, dare I say, love, hope, and justice. Returning to the story of Hanukkah, the second nuance that captures my attention this year is that the story of the miracle of the light makes it into the record at all. It was added later than the books of the Maccabees were created, when the initial historical account or mytho-historical account of what transpired came to the fore. It is considered a half-Torah, for those of you who may or may not know what that means. It means that it is something that is semi-revered within Jewish community, but outside the context of the Torah itself. And it comes into play during these times when festivals require that the story be extended beyond the Torah itself. So here I'm indebted to the work of scholar Ishmar Schorsch, who's also of the Jewish Theological Seminary, who argues that the texts used by the Jewish community during Hanukkah, those that are half-Torah outside of the Torah itself, suggest that the inclusion of the miracle of the Hanukkah oil in the text is not as straightforward as we would imagine. He writes, the connection between the half-Torah and Hanukkah is not at all seamless. Beneath the surface, one detects an attitude of ambivalence. That's an interesting observation about the story. If not outright estrangement, right? Which accords with abundant evidence that the rabbis viewed the Maccabees as problematic. The point of the prophet Zechariah, who is often quoted at this time of the year, is to minimize the role of human initiative. Words that you may have heard in other contexts, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the God of heaven's hosts. Zechariah 4:6. As a commentary on Hanukkah, the Haftorah intones the potency of divine love and loyalty, next to which the courage and the ingenuity of the Maccabees is of little consequence. Equally discordant, writes the scholar, is the division of power sanctified by Zechariah's vision. While religious authority abides in the figure of Joshua the high priest, political leadership is invested in Zerubbabel. God delivers a message to each respectively, thus preserving the dichotomy between priest and king. And we thought that the separation of church and state was a modern invention, right? But here we are, right? Even Moses in the wilderness left cultic duties to his brother, and I love this, Aaron. That's the way it should always be, right? Rather than usurp them to consolidate all the power in his own hands. And yet that's precisely, says the scholar, what the Maccabees did as the Syrian threat receded. In the year 140 BCE, a year after he had finally destroyed the detested Greek citadel in Jerusalem, Simon, the last of Mattathias' 5 sons to remain alive, had himself elected by great assembly of priests and people and leaders of the nation and the elders of the community as high priest and general and governor of the Jews, until a true prophet could arise. Again, in Greek fashion, copies of the decision affirming this unprecedented concentration of power were preeminently displayed in the temple and deposited for posterity in the National Archives. Schorsch continues, noting, I suspect that the choice of the prophet Zechariah for Shabbat Hanukkah delivers a muted reprimand by the rabbis for this blatant departure from tradition. By overreaching in their quest for power, the Maccabees had tarnished their nobility and the nobility of their uprising against apostasy. Years later, according to a garbled story in the Talmud, the Pharisees broke with Alexander, the most bloodthirsty of the later Hasmonean rulers, saying, the crown of political authority is enough for you. Leave the crown of the priesthood to the seed of Aaron. This last admonition has been very present to me when there were reports that surfaced that our president wanted to be considered for the next pope. Moreover, the tradition of the division between cultic and political power seems most important to remember these days as we continue to counter forms of Christian nationalism that see the current administration as having been ordained and sent by God to rule in this moment in history. So the story of the Hanukkah lights turns out to be an attempt by the rabbis to reorient their community to the survival of their people, not the might of the Maccabees. Amidst an era of tremendous hardship, while at the same time relying on the miracle to marginalize the growing sentiment that those who had gained political power from the events should be given ultimate power. The fact that the miracle story is only added to the Talmud in the 5th century of the Common Era, much later than the crafting of the original story of the books of the Maccabees, would confirm this logic of the reorienting role. So, here's my question. What are the signs that we're looking for today that help us remember that we are not alone? Not the signs of military might that we see being carried out in the Caribbean and in other parts of the globe where nations continue to batter nations in order to prove that they're capable of doing that. What do we look for in this moment of tremendous anxiety, tremendous uncertainty to remind us that we're not alone? I think, for me, what has been most potent, especially over the last few weeks, are those opportunities where I have gotten together with people in the community at large who have been on the ground prior to COVID and during COVID and post-COVID, who met the challenge of this era by saying, we need to step up. We need to not just allow people to go hungry or without access to health care. We need to remember that we have the power as individuals combined to bring resources to those who need them. Now, you might think about this in the context of charity, but the difference between charity and what I'm talking about is that what happened was not transactional. It was not, I'm going to give you something in order to get something in return. It was the heart of the community coming together and saying, this is not about which one of us will survive. This is about the desire for all of us to survive. And so whatever resources I have, whatever resources we have, needs to be distributed differently than the systems and the institutions that are now in lockdown and that are now not able to function because people are sick with COVID. We need to be able to step up. And we're in another era of that, are we not? It's not COVID now. It's the threat of the loss of food. It's the threat of the loss of health care. It is the threat of people who are our neighbors and our loved ones being deported. It is threat. The now cries for us to come together in grand communal ways to say, this shall not stand. This is not our best selves. This is not even close to what we're capable of being in community. And so this is an opportunity to literally rediscover what we truly rely on. Because when push comes to shove, ain't none of us going to the grave happy that we made all kinds of money. When push comes to shove, when we meet that moment in our lives, what we're thinking about is, how much love did I add to the world? How many people are going to remember me as someone who mattered to them? Our capacity to create those relationships is what saves us. We go from crisis to community. Much the same way that the Torah, that in Judaism we move from the stories of the Torah of wandering the wilderness to the stories of the Haftorah, which remind us that towards the end of that arc is the opportunity for rededication. And so we come to this moment with another question: to what shall I rededicate my life? For wealth? For property? Or for people? We gather in the wilderness of our time, between promise and uncertainty, between exile and homecoming. We are a people of journey, seeking light in the shadows, seeking hope in the turning of days. Like Israel wandering, we hunger for meaning. We thirst for justice. We long for belonging. In the desert of our own division, we discover manna called compassion, water of renewal, and the Spirit who guides us still. Voices rise like prophets of old, crying out against idols of fear, calling us back to covenant love. We will not forget the stranger. We will not forsake the widow. We will not silence the oppressed. In many tongues, in many songs, the Spirit breathes unity in diversity. We are one body, many members, one flame, many candles, one hope, many hands. Though we feel scattered, though trust seems broken, though the story feels lost, exile is not the end. Return is written in our bones. Renewal is planted in our soil. Like the oil that burned beyond its measure, like the light that endured against the night, we kindle hope in fragile vessels, rededicating our hearts, rededicating our homes, rededicating our nation to justice and peace. Amen. And blessed be. So I am delighted today to invite the Reverend Michael Reed, who is joining us online, who is the director of the Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light, to come and share with us for a few minutes about the work of what is referred to in the field as MIPL, Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light. We as a congregation have belonged to this organization for many, many years, dating back to when our own Laura Hoke, that some of you remember, was the director of Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light. And they have been present with us on a number of occasions to help us assess the energy capacities and the possibilities here in our building, as well as other things. So I want to welcome Reverend Reed to our sanctuary, if we can. There he is. Well, we're just going to pull you up on mic here real quick. You're fine.
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
There we go.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the warm invitation and the lovely message. It's a joy to be with you today, not in person, but in spirit, and to zoom in and listen to the moving service, as tonight is the first night of Hanukkah, and there's so much weight in the world, and then so much opportunity too. I love the idea that was talked about, how we step up and rededicate our lives to love. And so one of the things that I've been doing, I'm the executive director, as was mentioned, of Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light, and we are challenging faith communities to step up and live out their values on issues of climate and the environment. As was mentioned, Mass IPL has been around for over 20 years now, and you all have been wonderful supporters. And one of the things that I was thinking about when I was coming here, and I was thinking about as I listened to the homily and the service today, was how do we respond to all of the issues of the world, whether it's issues of racism, the challenges that people face for religious persecution or ethnic divisions. How do we step up in the rubble? And I've been thinking about a approach that our organization is taking on issues of climate that I want to invite you to consider as not only a response to climate, but all of the things that we mentioned. We believe that people need to connect their hearts and their deepest values, their hands, and with practical things, and their voices and strength together to mobilize for systemic change. At Mass IPL, we call that pray, act, and mobilize. And one of the things that we've been doing, that I've been fortunate enough to join in with since I've been with the organization in April, is to help do just that, to help faith communities connect their deep values on climate and the environment, create a community with others, take practical steps, as was mentioned, to decarbonize their buildings and take action for the environment, and then really join their voices together to push for systemic change. And one of the things that we've been really excited is that even amidst all of the challenge and all of the nonsense that's happening all around us, especially on issues of environment, that we are making progress when we're working with faith communities, working together. I'm happy to say that our organization in the last 18 months has helped over 300 different buildings weatherize their buildings. Let's wrap up the building so that it stays cool or warm as it should. And qualified for over $6 million in state incentives. We've helped do a lot of good work with environmental justice. So connecting the intersections of poverty or marginalized communities with the issues of climate justice. So we're doing a big project in Lawrence, and we're really growing as an organization. And so I want to just thank you for inviting us to support us with your 50-50 contributions. And we hope that you'll join us as people who are connecting values of spirituality, and a deep sense of urgency for the climate with a common cause together as we connect our deep values and pray, act, and mobilize together. So thanks for having me. And if you'd like to hear more about Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light, please reach out to me. You can write to me. If you find our website, massipl.org, you can find out a lot more information. But thank you again for your support and your work together for climate.
Michael, thank you for your leadership and for the opportunity that you've given us to be able to share in the vision of Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light. So our 50-50 collection today will be shared with Mipple. For those of you who have not done this before, here, if you are writing a check or giving cash that you want to be attributed to your pledge alone, please use one of the envelopes in the pews or write on the memo of the check pledge. Otherwise, any of the monies that are collected today will be split 50-50 with Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light and this congregation as we continue to honor the work of so many different organizations in our communities doing just what we ourselves long to do. This time, our morning offering will be received. you who are of a certain generation just went into a flashback, did you not? Mm-hmm. Yes. We come to that time in our service when we're given pause to consider what is deepest in our hearts or most profoundly on our minds or in the work of our hands in the days that have transpired or in the prospect of days to come, joys and sorrows that touch us deeply and are given another measure of meaning because we're able to share with those who claim us as a co-journeyer. So I invite those of you who have joys or sorrows in this day to come forward, forming lines on either side of the sanctuary, to speak in the microphone, telling us who you are so that everyone who's here can participate, and then to light a candle if you so desire. For those of you who are online, want to reiterate you're welcome to place a joy or sorrow in the chat, and we will make certain to include them as well.
Good morning. I wanted to share a joy, which is our choir, which has been working hard, working for our Vespers work. We're doing kind of extra work, and I'm just going to light a choir for our choir that will all remain sound in health and able to do what we need to do. And a concern. My wife had a fall about a little bit more than a week ago, and broke a couple of ribs. And the rib injuries are, even though the bones are broken, there's nothing that they can do to make it a whole lot better. So she's in some misery, let's say. And just any thoughts or prayers would be welcome.
Good morning. My name is Vicki, and I want to share actually what it's both a joy and a sorrow. Maybe I don't. No, I'm okay. Something that happened this week that I've thought about a lot, and this happened before in this space where something has happened to me or I've had some thoughts, and Aaron has said something that has really brought some clarity, or somebody else has stood here in this space and said something that has been pulled it together for me, and that happened this morning. So what happened this week is that I have a colleague. I have lots of colleagues, but one particular colleague who I've worked with for years, and I don't know this person very well. This is a person of color, and that's relevant to the story. And I don't know this person very well at all. To say hi, friendly. And so this week we were kind of passing at the copier, I think. And we were chatting, and I said, "So how are you doing?" And I don't know if it was something in my tone that was a little bit different, or what they were thinking that was a little different, but they had stopped. And then leaned into me and said, "I'm so scared." And this is not, like I said, we're not actually good friends. This is not something that I would ever have expected. And it's so easy for me as a white person in this country to feel upset on behalf of others. That's actually not hard. But it's also easy for me to then just go about my day. And I was just reminded how people have this deep fear all the time that I don't have. I guess my joy about this is that this person saw something in me to trust. But the sorrow, of course, is that this exists at all. So I've had enough of crying to you now, and thank you for letting me share that.
You're funny.
Hi, I'm Debbie Merrill. So my thoughts this morning are with the students and the families at Brown University. Brown was our community, our home for 6 years. Ken taught in the building where the shooting took place. We walked those streets every single day, and I always felt safe, no matter what time of day or anything like that. And it both saddens and enrages me that this has happened. And I can only hope and send my best thoughts to the kids who were injured and to their families and the families of the 2 people who were killed, that they are able to get back on track and return to their educations and move on. So thank you.
Top of the morning to you, and the rest of the day to myself. My name is Pauline Corshane. Okay, well, my hips are just fine. I had a blast last night, and I didn't even want to go. But I had so many reasons for not going, and they all got resolved, and so I went. And I danced all night. And I really want to thank the committee or the group, whatever they called themselves, for putting this on. It was beautiful, the little decorations on the windowsills and the decorations before you got to the dance area were very beautiful, and the wine was delicious. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and as some of you know, my husband passed away on November 30th, and we had the service here on Thursday, and I just wanted to light a candle for him.
Our white poinsettias in the front are in honor of John.
Hi, I'm Paul, and one of the things, I was going to bring up the Providence issue too, but I'm really getting concerned. It seems like many Americans seem to be target practice for weird people. Also, when we're talking about the 8th principle, in October 16th, 1969, my brother was murdered by a Puerto Rican. And for the next several years, I hated Puerto Ricans. You know, I just, you know, and then finally I ran into one, and he was speaking English, you know, and he said to me, you know, my parents speak Spanish and they have no intentions of learning English. And I want to learn English because I'm an American. That changed my whole attitude, you know. And I see a lot of things happening today, even where they're like really, the Spanish Americans, any minorities, usually are very hardworking, diligent people that, you know, really bust their butts trying to do a job. And it gets to the point where I think like a lot of people just take their work for granted, especially if you're in the hotel industry. I was trying to go into the hotel industry and realize they just hire them for like 4 hours a day or 2 hours a day, and like, that's no future. But I don't know how to fix it.
Hi, I'm Angela, but y'all know me. This is both a sorrow and a joy. The sorrow is 2 years ago, I lost my mama. The joy is because of Matt playing You've Got a Friend by Carole King. It brought back the memory of me and my mom in the kitchen doing dishes, singing, belting it out. And I felt her presence, and I felt her love. So thank you, Matt. And thank you for belting it out with me.
Good morning. My name is Dawn Dowd. I have the honor of sharing joys and sorrows for our online community. Aaron mentioned we've got a lot of people online, so there are a few comments here. I'll try and make sure I don't lose track of any. Brenda Hellberg shares, a joy. My continued connection with LRY friends across the country and via the internet, also being here today. I did ask Brenda what that acronym stood for because I didn't know. She shared it stands for Liberal Religious Youth, and it was this church and nationwide in the 60s through the 80s. Laura Lenahan shares, Mason came down with the RSV virus. We are quarantined for almost 5 days now. Try to tell a 5-year-old to rest is easier said than done. Give me a moment. Okay. Josh Belden and Sherry Lynn share their joy. Last night was so much fun. We definitely turned up the lights. Can't wait to see the numbers. Stephen Murphy and Aaron Morrell share a joy and sorrow. My brother continues to be in the ICU for now, the 20th day. The first transplant didn't take. Amazingly, a second viable transplant was found, and they were able to bring him in for a second surgery Friday night. During the surgery, all I can say is that I felt a wave of energy over the waiting room where I was with his wife and daughter. He made it through the surgery, but he's not out of the woods. Machines are taking over for his breathing and heart to give the body a chance to heal. Grateful for the nurses and doctors and neighbors and community that have come to support him and his family in this time. We have no choice but to be hopeful.
You've seen me before, Nancy Hancock. I just missed my name tag. 2 short things while I was standing there. I was president of the LRY of Central Massachusetts back in the day. And second thing is our thoughts about immigrants and how much they've contributed. We are all today sitting here and happy because our company, we hired mostly Dominicans, and the person who's done incredibly the most for our company, Juan, was picked up by ICE in the middle of the night about 20 years ago, spent a year in the prison that's in between the north and southbound lanes of 95, and was the people in the lawyers in Lawrence, where they're miracle people, were able to get him out. Today, he is a citizen of the United States as well as the Dominican Republic. He holds dual citizenship. And he and his friend were the 2 men who went up there to this ceiling and fixed it a few weeks ago.
Hello, I'm Shirley Trait. I don't know why I had just remembered this, which is strange, but I have a concern. My brother was diagnosed with prostate cancer a few weeks ago, and he's going in for surgery on the 19th. Family, we usually often do something on Christmas, but we won't this year because he'll be recovering. So we're meeting tonight in Waltham, at a restaurant in Waltham. So I'm just concerned about my brother, and I'm hoping for the best. Thank you.
Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, on this day, let us become the confluence of that which has filled us with joy and gladness during this season, for the opportunity to know each other better, for good food, good wine, and good dance, for all of the ways in which we have benefited from knowing each other, and for the ways in which we have entered into the spirit of this season with open hearts, open hands. Help us, O Spirit, to bring the energy and the compassion and the love that is so present in all that we have gained to bear on all that we are concerned about. For those who have suffered at the hands of another act of violence, not only at Brown University, but in other parts of our country, let our children not continue to be the target of such violence. For those who face health challenges, on this day we think of the Murphy and Morell family as they continue to surround Stephen's brother with all manner of love. For all of those who continue to strive for wholeness, let us bring what is best in us to bear on them. Amen. And blessed be. Please turn to responsive reading number 629, found in the back of your gray hymnal. The words of Congregation Beth El in Sudbury. We gather in the chill of winter solstice, finding warmth from each other, nourishing hope where reason fails. Grateful for small miracles, we rejoice in the wonder of light and darkness and the daring of hope. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You made us holy with your commandments and call us to kindle upon our lives. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You have kept us alive, you have sustained us, you have brought us to this moment. Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join together singing hymn number 221, found in your gray hymnal. Light unwanted blessing, grant us the ability to find joy and strength, not in the strident call to arms, but in the stretching out of our arms, to grasp our fellow creatures in the striving for justice and truth. Amen. Please be seated.
I dedicate this song to recession, depression, and unemployment. This song's for you. Today's a new day, but there is no sunshine. Nothing but clouds and a thought in my heart, and it feels like a cold night. Today's a new day, but where are my blue skies? Where is the love and the joy that you promised me? Tell me it's all right. I almost gave up, but a power that I can't explain fell from heaven like a shower now. I smile, even though I hurt, see I smile. I know God is working, so I smile. Even though I've been here for a while, I smile, smile. It's so hard to look up when you've been down. Surely we'd hate to see you give up now. You look so much better when you smile, so smile. Now every day is not gonna be easy, but we're gonna try to give it a purpose. Today's a new day, but there is no sunshine. Nothing but clouds, and it's dark in my heart, and it feels like a cold night. Today's a new day, but tell me, where are my blue skies? Where is the love and the joy that you promised me? Tell me it's all right. I almost gave up, but a power that I can't explain fell from heaven like a shower now. I smile, even though I hurt, see I smile. I know God is working, so I smile. Even though I've been here for a while, I smile, smile. It's so hard to look up when you've been down. Sure would hate to see you give up now. You look so much better when you smile. Smile for me. Can you just smile for me? Whatever you're in right now, smile for me. Can you just smile for me? People say, oh, 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 you look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, you look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. Sing with us. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you smile. I almost gave up, but a power that I can't explain fell from heaven like a shower now. Right now, I smile. Even though I hurt, see I smile. I know God is working, so I smile. Even though I've been here for a while, I smile, smile. It's so hard to look up when you've been down. Sure would hate to see you give up now. You look so much better when you smile. So smile, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. Come join the chorus. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. Everybody now. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. That's it. You look so much better when you, oh, oh, oh. Bring it home. You look so much better when you smile.
A couple of short announcements. Today is Soup Sunday, and I believe we have a potato and leek vegetarian option and New England clam chowder, vegan option, and then New England clam chowder for all of you carnivores. Normal, I think they're asking for a $5 donation for a bowl of soup, but no one goes without soup. So if you haven't brought money, don't worry about it. We're going to give you soup anyway. So see me if you have any questions about that. Any other very, very short announcements?
Aaron, you've got an announcement about the or I can
I got it. Let me see. Let's see. Join us next Saturday, says Beth Posner Walden, on 12/20 from 11 to 12:30 and holding signs of fascism in Worcester around Elm Park. There will be a link in the message. Also, next Sunday, we have at 10 a.m. our annual solstice service here in the sanctuary. And then at 4 p.m., we have our annual holiday Vespers service and Vespers tea. And I would be remiss if I didn't say for Nancy, sign up now to help with the Vespers tea. We're still looking for people to assist in setting up, serving, and cleaning up from this annual event. This is the largest of the services that we have every year. So if you arrive at 4 p.m., you're going to be standing probably. So come early, come often. And then just a simple reminder that we will also gather on Christmas Eve at 7 p.m. here for our annual Christmas Eve candlelight service as well. So seeing no other announcements, once again, the worship here is ended, but our service continues next with soup.